certainly don't watch when you're not on and I'm not on. I don't watch. I don't know who's doing this. But you know what I hope? I hope they're wearing ties. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Cam Newton gets sidelined, Carson Wentz looks mobile, and the Orioles stink. But we begin today with Miguel Cabrera hitting his 500th home run yesterday. He is the 28th baseball player to hit 500, and he's only 45 hits shy of 3,000. If Cabrera gets that, he will become only one of 7 players with the 500, 3,000 double. The other 6, Henry Aaron, Willie Mays, Eddie Murray, Rafael Palmeiro, Alex Rodriguez, and Albert Pujols. Wilbon, wow. What are your thoughts on this accomplishment and Cabrera's career?
Tony, the home runs and hitting the home run, that just launched me into, well, let me go to baseballreference.com and let me look up Miggy Cabrera, because it seems like he's done a lot of stuff and there's not as much praise as there is stuff. And when I got to his page and started reading it, this is like insane. First of all, I knew he had to have one batting title because he won a Triple Crown. Oh, wait, Triple Crown. Something that so few people have done in the last 50 years. And so, he's got 4 batting titles, Tony. And every list he's on is something like, well, that only includes Ted Williams, Henry Aaron, Babe Ruth, and Lou Gehrig. And he's on these lists, these tiny little lists of people. And it led me to conclude, again, I know the home run it's fine. That was yesterday's highlight. But go deeper, boys and girls, because this is one of the great and underrated players of all time.
So I want to fixate on the 3,000 for a particular reason. I know he's not there yet, but I think he's going to get there. Because let me give you a partial list of people who did not get 3,000 hits. Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, Barry Bonds. I don't think I have to name anybody else.
No, you don't.
I don't. In terms of him being a hitter, look, he's a power hitter with 3,000 hits. 2 things are true.
And
power hitters don't get a lot of pitches, but power hitters don't get a lot of pitches to look at.
Right.
And slow right-handed power hitters don't ever leg anything out.
No.
And this guy was 320 or above, and let me get this right, 9 times.
9 times.
Which is an incredible wow. As a hitter, he dwarfs some of these people who are on this list with him, right? He does.
And Tony, then why isn't he more widely praised? Why isn't he more widely viewed as one of the great players of all time? He did play on a World Series championship team, which I think he had cleanup on when he's like 11 years old. How is it that Cabrera isn't on our tongues all the time as one of the great players in the history of this game?
Well, he should be, and then we have to ask ourselves, who's next to 500 and who's next to 3,000? To 3,000, Robbie Cano, he only needs, what?
Well, he's next to
375 hits. But he's 38, and he's suspended this whole year. And great hitters like Trout and Freeman and Altuve, they don't have 2,000. And in terms of 500, Nelson Cruz is closest. He's got 443, but he's 41. He's not getting there. Giancarlo Stanton has 332, Mike, and he's only 31 years old, but he gets hurt all the time. He's only got 27 home runs in the last 3 seasons. I think it'll be Trout, but I don't know about anybody else, and I don't even know about Trout.
Trout is slurped and praised, and legitimately so. He's not Cabrera. Trout ain't Cabrera.
Not yet.
But yet Trout, we praise Trout every day. Oh, poor Trout, he doesn't have a team that's any good. Trout ain't Cabrera, man. We have somehow, how's baseball not celebrated this dude more? It's ridiculous. The Baltimore Orioles cannot lose today because they're not playing. The O's have lost 18 straight. 18 straight. Just 3 shy of the record 21 in a row that the Orioles set back in 1988. Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic writes today that baseball needs to change the rules to discourage tanking as a way to collect high draft picks. Tone, my Cubs and the Astros too, they won the World Series using this strategy to their advantage. Is Rosenthal right, though, Tone, that baseball needs to change this?
So I want to go back for a minute to 1988. Because I covered a bunch of those games.
I know you were there. You and I were there.
You may have covered those games. You may be doing beat work at that point. They lost 21 in a row. They fired Cal Sr. after 0-6. They brought in Frank Robinson. He went 0-15 before he got a win. And that team, Mike, as you remember, had Cal Ripken Jr. and Eddie Murray. This team doesn't have anything like that. To Rosenthal's issue about collecting high draft picks, I'm not sure I agree with that for this reason. I've watched drafts in football and in basketball, and I've watched it fail in those sports. And the science is much better than in baseball. Much better. It depends on who you are picking. There's a feeling that Kenny has that there ought to be a floor. You have to spend a certain amount of money.
The floor.
And that will discourage tanking. Okay, but let me just say this. Let's look at Tampa Bay and Oakland. They don't spend any money. They're in the playoffs every year. So who's doing your scouting and who's doing your signing?
I'm okay with the floor, but of course, as usual, baseball and the union can't agree on anything in terms of how to employ the strategy to make a floor, and raise it. Maybe it should be $100 million. Who knows what it is? Some teams are spending 50. So that is weird to me, Tony. What's also strange is that the Orioles are on this trajectory again. I mean, they were on it when you mentioned they were just dreadful for years. And then from like 2012 to 16, they made the playoffs every year. They won as many games as any team in baseball over that time. They were pretty good. They didn't have a single great team that won a World Series, but they were trying. And now a franchise, and Kenny Rosenthal knows his franchise as well as anybody, because I was back there in the 80s when we were both covering this team, and Kenny Rosenthal locally in Baltimore. And he knows, Tony, they were the Dodgers. They had the best minor league system, and they appear to have close to that again. I don't understand. I don't know that I want to legislate every time somebody pops up and they're smelly for a few years. I'm okay with the floor, but the draft picks very much depends on who's doing the scouting and the drafting and the developing of these players.
Here were the people that were covering the Orioles at that point. Kenny Rosenthal, Tim Kirchin, and Richie Justice.
Yeah.
That's as good a group of writers that ever covered any team, as far as I'm concerned. I blame it on ownership, Mike. I blame it on ownership. It's the third year in a row now they're going to lose over 100. All they seem to care about is their television network. They don't care about their fans, and they don't care about the team. And I think something has to be done. Let's go to football. The New England Patriots announced that Cam Newton will miss 5 days of camp because of a misunderstanding of how COVID tests are conducted away from team facilities. So Newton violated protocol. Wilbon, could this absence by Newton cost him his starting job?
Well, yeah, it's cost him his starting job today, right now. He's not starting now. They have these stupid depth charts all the time that way too many people pay way too much attention to, but they count for something. So somebody's taking the snaps today and tomorrow, and these days that Cam Newton has to be away from the team or can deal with meetings virtually, but he ain't the starting quarterback for the next few days, is he? So he's lost that. Whether he can regain it, whether they'll pencil him into the lineup, the practice lineup, as tied for number one or a code number one, I don't know. But it's cost him this right now. And if it's close, if it's a race, it may cost him ultimately as we move toward week one of the National Football League's real season.
So, I've watched a little bit of the Patriots in the exhibition games that have been on TV. And I think Mac Jones has looked as good as Cam Newton, though I thought Cam Newton looked really good against Philadelphia, which looked really dreadful. He threw the ball crisply, and he threw the ball down the field, which he didn't do last year, but so did Mac Jones. My opinion is, Mike, if I ran a team, I'd start Cam Newton. I wouldn't start Mac Jones. I'd let Mac Jones sit for a while. And I think Bill Belichick is as old school as there is. I think he wants to start Cam Newton. He has said publicly, though, that if Mac Jones outplays him or if Cam Newton is unavailable, then Mac Jones could get the job. So if you want to start Mac Jones, this gives you cover to do it right now, right? It does. Gives you cover.
Yes, because you've only got one preseason game left, and who knows how each of these teams treats it differently when you have three now instead of four. The third used to be the dress rehearsal. That used to be the game that the starters might get some real plays. But now, when you only got three, but you also have these stupid practices where teams practice against each other every day for 2 or 3 or 4 days in the week, who the hell knows how each team and each coaching staff will decide that will impact who they put in the number one spot going into the regular season. So, Tony, I think these days hurt them. These days have to hurt Cam Newton not being there.
I agree. And my takeaway from this is that it seems apparent to me that Cam Newton has never been vaccinated. because the only people
I
subject
don't
to this
know.
particular 5-day
Are people who
protocol
have not
are people
been.
that haven't been vaccinated. But he's back on Thursday, and I think their next game is Sunday. So if Bill Belichick wants to start him on Sunday, he can. I don't think we're in crisis mode yet, is my opinion. We're not in crisis mode. Let's take a break. Coming up, did Carson Wentz put the worries about his foot to rest today?
And how should Mitchell Trubisky feel about torching the Chicago Bears in Chicago on Saturday?
Is he your boy again? Do you
No,
like
he's
him
never been
again,
my boy.
Trubisky?
But he's closer to the my boy seat than his former head coach.
Well, that's what I...
Pardon the Interruption is brought to you by the all-new 2021 Ford F-150. Tough this